Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to rise today to speak to the proposed amendments to the Statistics Act. Canadians expect their government to make informed decisions in order to put in place effective policies and programs, and this government has been consistently committed to collecting reliable statistical data while ensuring the privacy rights of Canadians are respected. We have a robust statistical program that governments, municipalities, associations, businesses, and researchers rely on for their work. And Statistics Canada is one of the most highly regarded statistical agencies in the world. It participates in close to 200 international groups, including the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, and the OECD. The agency is often asked to play a prominent role on committees and is viewed as a strong leader in terms of data quality and management of its statistical programs. But the amendments to the Statistics Act that my colleague across the floor is proposing would have a negative impact on the governance of Statistics Canada, the timelines of data collection, and the work that has already been done to alleviate undue burden on Canadians. These changes would be costly to taxpayers and would reverse the strides already taken to ensure the statistical program upholds the privacy rights of Canadians. Mr. Speaker, this bill proposes to change the method for appointing the chief statistician, shifting the responsibility from the Governor and Council to other players. This would blur the accountability of the chief statistician, who is currently appointed in the same manner as other deputy ministers. This government believes in ensuring that the lines of accountability for Governor and Council appointments remain clear and transparent. We cannot support a proposal that seeks to impose a separate process. The bill also seeks to make the chief statistician ultimately accountable for the overall statistical program, including decisions regarding content for the census. This change would disrupt the important balance between the advisory role of expert officials and the accountability of elected officials of Parliament. When Canadians are asked to provide information on a mandatory basis, with legal ramifications for not responding, it is elected officials who should decide the question to be asked. It is elected officials who should be accountable for the content of these surveys, as they are responsible to Parliament and ultimately to all Canadians for the overall statistical program. Furthermore, the chief statistician already has a wide range of legally mandated responsibilities to ensure the integrity of the statistical program and to maintain a high standard for protecting the privacy for Canadians. Mr. Speaker, this bill also seeks to impose unrealistic requirements on Statistics Canada by forcing the agency to comply with ambiguous international best practices. Statistics Canada already follows international standards when they are in the best interest of this country, Canada. Instead, what this bill proposes is to bind Statistics Canada into adopting international practices that may not be suitable to our national context and that may go against the agency's better judgment. Mr. Speaker, this bill also seeks to force Statistics Canada into publishing all surveys. That's over 350 surveys annually in the Canada Gazette. This would significantly increase costs to taxpayers and add red tape to what is currently a streamlined and transparent process. In fact, Statistics Canada already publishes its surveys online, and where mandated to do so, publishes questionnaires in the Canada Gazette. To legally bind Statistics Canada into putting all surveys into the Canada Gazette is an unnecessary, burdensome, and costly proposal. Statistics Canada's ability to respond to data users and their need for timely information would be severely restricted. Mr. Speaker, this bill will also seek to turn back the clock and demand that Canadians answer detailed questions about their private lives by reinstating the long-form census. The proposed changes to the bill would legally compel Canadians to answer these intrusive questions. This government has already taken numerous steps to ensure that we collect necessary, reliable data while reducing the undue burden on Canadians and protecting their privacy. We have ensured that particular census questions, the ones that help to enumerate the population, to calculate transfer payments, and to make informed policy decisions, remain mandatory. But certain other questions that have been determined to be intrusive and challenge the privacy rights of Canadians are now voluntary. It is this government's view that no Canadian should ever be forced to answer detailed questions about their personal lives with legal recourse if they fail to respond. For that reason, we do support the notion of removing jail time penalties for Canadians who do not respond to mandatory surveys. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, this bill does not even properly address the issue, as it would leave jail time penalties for other sections of the Statistics Act. This government believes that no Canadian should ever face the threat of jail time for failing to fill out a survey, nor should Canadians who refuse to disclose certain data face the same penalty. A jail sentence is a penalty meant for real criminals, child predators, and terrorists, not for elderly citizens who fail to respond to mandatory surveys. In keeping with our election promise, the member for Elgin, Middlesex, London has introduced Bill C-625, which proposes to remove the threat of jail time both for those who refuse or fail to respond to all mandatory surveys, not only for the census. I would encourage my colleagues to support Bill C-625, as it would ensure Canadians never have to respond to surveys under the threat of jail time. Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve a world-class statistical program that collects reliable data and is properly accountable to Parliament. This government will work hard for Canadians to ensure they continue to get just that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.